Well, I have to admit I'm a little bit worried here. What I'm seeing, this is the Quad G5, as a couple people guessed in the previous video. Yeah, this has got a tear in it right here, and you can maybe make out inside of there. There's no bubble wrap. I can't believe that UPS allows this kind of packaging through their systems. The reason I say it is because I ship stuff through FedEx normally, or USPS, but for small stuff. But FedEx for stuff like this, and every time I take it down to them, you know, I've boxed it up, I print out the label, things like that, I just take it down to drop it off to them. They always nitpick me about the box. I'll tell you right now, maybe it's just my FedEx facility here, but this would not pass their their inspection. They would say, nope, you got to go back and you got to redo that. But UPS, which is what this was shipped through, doesn't really seem to care how packages are prepared, how their shipments are, you know, boxed up and protected. They just throw it through their system and hope for the best, I guess. So that's all we can do for this one. Hope for the best. Who knows? Maybe this thing is in better shape than the previous one. Now this guy, I'm terrified to unbox this thing, but the guy that I got this from was a 0 feedback rating. And normally, I don't buy from zeros. I have bent that rule a couple times, which I obviously did in the case of this particular item, and it's come out okay. The last Powermac G5 that I got was not from a 0. That was from somebody that had several thousand feedback rating, mostly positive, very positive, and it still came damaged, although they did an exceptionally better job at packaging than this is. So let's find out here. And I can see right now we've got a bend in it right here. Now unfortunately I have no idea what this thing looked like because the guy only listed this as the generic, with a generic description. He didn't have a picture of it or anything like that. This is basically sight unseen purchase. It was $31 I paid for this. So I guess you get what you get, right? So we've got a bend here in the upper handle, which would be probably easier to repair than the other case damage, but we'll find out. We do have the power cable here, and you can see that's definitely a Quad G5. I was kind of concerned that maybe because the guy had it listed as a Quad G5 in the specifications, but maybe he didn't really know what he was shipping, or maybe he was just trying to fool people. But that is definitely the Quad G5 power cord, because it's got this special plug on it, and if you don't have this plug, you are SOL. So that's a positive thing. Supposedly this machine does work, except for having the front USB port busted, and I can see some more case damage here, unfortunately. So yeah, we've got some case damage right here on the top. And the bottom is completely smashed on it. So yeah, let's have a closer look at this thing. Alright, so you can better see now the damage to the top handle right here. It's also bent right here as well, so the whole thing's pushed over to the side. We'll take a look at the bottom here. That's where the real damage has occurred. Look at that. The feet are completely smashed up into the bottom of the case. Tore off the rivets down there. So yeah, my recommendation to all of my YouTube viewers that are watching this video right now, never ever ever buy one of these from eBay, because no one seems to know how to ship something this heavy. It's absolutely disgusting. You know, the last person it fared better than this, but that system is not fully stable. There's something wrong with that logic board, and I don't know if it's because of the logic board was failing in it before, or if it's because of the hard bump that it sustained. But people just do not understand that you have to package something like this appropriately. Big box, foam, something to help support this thing in the box. Bubble wrap doesn't cut it. This thing weighs 50 pounds. You've got all this aluminum. It's easy to bend. I recommend never buy one of these from eBay unless you just want it for parts and you've already got a nice case to put it into. But let's go ahead and see if the side panel even comes off of here. And yeah, this handle's, I already feel a little piece falling off there. Let's see if I can pry this up a little bit here to get some room. What the hell does it matter now if I scratch the paint? There we go. A little bit of help there. Okay. So that came off. So what may end up happening here is that if this thing works, that's going to be the real trick. If this thing works, I may put all these guts into the dual G5, the 2.5 that I got before, because it is the exact same case. The quad G5 stuff will fit into that case just fine. There's no issues there. Apple didn't change the case on these, so you can put any combination of, 1.6 all the way up to the quad 2.5s and the dual 2.3, 2.7. You can put all that into the case. The difference is, though, the power supply is different and the logic board is a little different because of the power supply, because they've actually got lugs that come up from the power supply that screw into the board instead of a connector. But it's pretty filthy in here too. And we got a pretty big video card. Looks like it might be a 7300. I'm gonna have to see, but yeah, I don't know if this thing's even gonna boot up. We do have one hard drive in here, and the guy said it worked, but that the front USB port was broken, and I already got a replacement board for the front there to replace that up there. So I don't know. It's pretty filthy in here, though, that's for sure. Won't really know what the video card is until I power it on. See if I can get the front fan out of here. And let's take a look at the serial number here. Well, let's have a look at that serial number right there. Did I get screwed? You notice. Let me zoom in on that a little bit there. Take a look at that. That portion's cut out right there, or it's where the processor spec would be, or it's blacked out. It's markered out or something. Looks like it's been markered out. So let's see what this really is. Alright, let's find out if we've actually got a quad G5 in here or not. I couldn't get this top cover to slide off here. Well, it does not want to come off of there. I can tell you, it doesn't look like a... I can't get that cover off of there. But it's definitely not a quad G5. It's not even a quad motherboard. You can see the massive heatsink right there. You can see the second processor socket down there. It's not even well, I don't know if you can see it or not because of the shadow, but the pad where the second processor would go is not even there. So I think this is a dual core. It's probably a 2.3 dual core, if I had to guess, based on what I am seeing. And so I'm extremely disappointed. Alright, I just spent about the last 20 minutes or so on UPS's website there filling out the claim stuff, only to, in the middle of it, find out, oh, their service is temporarily unavailable. Just right in the middle of it. So I don't like UPS. I really don't. I really hate that people ship stuff through UPS because they really are the worst of the bunch. And this proves it. They don't care about the quality of packages that come in through their system. They don't care about customer service on their website, making sure that their shit works. It's a crappy service. Don't recommend them. Don't ever ship stuff through UPS if you can at all avoid it. So let's find out if this thing even works or not. I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of hope at this point, but maybe it'll work just fine. I don't know. Case has definitely sustained some pretty heavy damage to it. Maybe a mount will take care of that. Pry bars, something like that. But the problem is that once this metal gets bent to this significance, it's, well, I'm not a metal person, so I can't get it perfectly straight again, and two, it's also popped off the rivets, so it's never going to be attached to the case again. I don't know how Apple did that. Yeah, I could probably glue it or something, but I mean the rivets are just tore right out of this aluminum that hold it onto the case, so not good, not good. But we do have at least a parts machine, if nothing else, I suppose. I just looked up the serial number on this. This is a dual core 2 gigahertz machine. G5, obviously. And yeah, I really wanted to have a nice top-notch G5 machine. Something that wasn't... there's a lot of these things that have case damage, whether it be scratches or whether it be the bent sides of the feet handles, the lower handles and the upper handles, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of them out there like that, but I was hoping to get a pretty good quality G5, and I guess the first one was the best of the two here as far as the case is concerned, even though that one's not perfect either. But let's go ahead and find out if this thing's actually going to turn on or not. Alright, I got it plugged in. I've got it plugged into my kilowatt meter there too. I'm kind of curious to see how much power this thing's going to draw. So far, nothing went bang, and I did hear a click of the relay on the power supply. So let's push the button here and find out what happens. Well, the lights flickered. Oh my God, I think it's actually trying to work. Let's turn over this nice Apple monitor that I picked up also. Nice 23-inch. Oh my God, it's actually going to boot up into something here. And let me guess, I suppose this guy probably didn't bother to delete any of his documents or files on this hard drive. Let's go ahead and find out here what's on here, because it looks like it's booting up, folks. I'm actually quite stunned. It's making a valiant effort here to boot up. That hard drive has come to life, and it's definitely making a lot of noise. Healthy sounding noise, at least. Trying to boot up. Well, at least it was. I don't know what it's doing. There it goes. Well, yeah, it's thinking pretty hard here. Hard drive sounds normal, though. It doesn't sound like it's having a hard time reading a sector there. You know, it's not making that repetitive clicky noise. Yeah, we're booting up into, kind of looks like Tiger. Is it going to be Tiger or is it going to be Lion? I mean, leopard. Looks like tiger. Unless he's fooling me with the background. It kind of looks like a leopard dock there. It's been a while since I've actually messed with Macs to the extent that I actually remember what all this stuff looked like. The bar down here kind of looks like a leopard. Let's go ahead and close that. Let's go ahead and go up here to about this Mac and find out what we've got going on here. Yep, it's 10.5.8. So yeah, take a look at that, folks, right there. Okay, so that's interesting. The website that I looked up the serial number on was wrong. This is a dual core 2.3. Okay. 4 gig of RAM. That means all 8 sticks are all 8 slots are populated, which means those are, what would that be, 512 megabyte per stick, which is pretty low per stick for DDR2. It is a DDR2 machine, so in theory it should be faster, at least to some extent, than the dual 2.5, because that's only what do I want to say? It's a DDR machine, and it's AGP, whereas this one is PCI Express. So, I mean, there are some benefits to this little bit slightly newer machine. And well, it made a valiant effort to boot in. Let's see what's in the trash here. Breaking Bad episode, season 4. Ooh. Ooh. He's got. Oh, I might have to watch that. So that's always something that you should do, folks, on a Mac. Empty your recycle bin. And I wonder if these are downloaded or if these are pirated, or if these are. I don't think these are from the Apple Store because they're AVIs. But let's go ahead and drag him out onto the desktop here. I'm gonna zoom that out a little bit. Sorry, guys. And no, I don't want to do anything like that. Why didn't it? Those almost look like shortcuts. See what happens. Okay, they're aliases. Yeah. Is it an alias in here too? Yeah, it looks like those are all aliases too. Windows term shortcut. Mac is alias. Is that it doesn't tell me anything here. Get info. Let's see what that says here. 1.2 megabytes. So yeah, they're just aliases. I wonder where those might have been. Could they have been under video? Looks like he's got an iDisk right here. Account's not set up though, so that's alright. It's definitely got a smell to it that's musty. We'll call it musty. Let's see if there's anything interesting under pictures. No. Under music. No. Downloads. No. Documents. No. So either this guy went through and cleaned out his documents and just forgot to empty the recycle bin for this, the Breaking Bad links there, or he did a fresh reinstall at some point, and for whatever reason that was the only thing he ever put on this thing. Maybe he thought those were actually his video files and turned out not to be, so he threw them in the trash. I don't know. But at least it's working, so I guess what I'm going to do at this point is I'm just going to try to fix this case as best as I can. I'm going to try a few different, there's only a couple techniques I can really think of to maybe try to fix this case. That's with a pry bar and maybe a screwdriver and a mallet. But I don't have a whole lot of hope for it looking very good once I'm done with it, but it'll at least maybe be level. I do have one more Powermac, although it's not a Powermac, but it is a big silver tower like this. I've got a free Mac Pro that I just recently acquired last Friday. And there it is sitting down there in all its beautiful glory. That's the first gen Mac Pro with the dual Xeon 771 chips in it. And I've got about 14 gig of RAM in it right now. It can support 32 gigs, so I might bump it up to that just for the hell of it at some point. But we'll save him for another video. That case is pretty much perfect. There's a couple scratches on it, but definitely not this bad. So anyway, get to see the computer that was supposed to be a quad G5, which turned out not to be. The one thing I do find curious is that you notice I do have the side panel off, and the fans are not ramped up to full speed, although the little warning lights are lit up in the case there. But normally these things go into full throttle on the fans when you've got that side cover taken off of them, so I find that kind of curious. I hope that doesn't mean there's an actual problem with this thing. One of the problems very common on these G5s, this is from my experience, if you have a G5 that the fans go into full throttle pretty much as soon as you turn it on, more than likely the intake temperature sensor is bad. You can run a thermal calibration on it if you can find the ASD to do that. My experience with that is it's really not necessary. I know some people will probably say that it is, and according to Apple it's absolutely necessary to do that, although if I remember correctly, Apple also had a specific temperature that the computer had to be, the room had to be at for the thermal calibration to take place. And I want to say it was about 70 degrees ambient temperature, I think was what Apple said. But you know, you'd have to really thermal calibrate the room, the environment that you've got the computer into, in order to achieve that. So honestly, my rule of thumb is if it replace that and the fans sound like it's running normal, I don't really worry about it. But you're supposed to recalibrate it. That's the methodology that Apple teaches you, and that's pretty commonly passed along on internet forums. But like I said, I've actually found it not to be necessary. If you've got one of these that the fans are running full throttle all the time, a thermal calibration is probably not going to fix it. You've most likely got a bad thermal sensor. But you could have problems with thermal compound between the processor board and the massive heatsink there, obviously, but that's more of one of those things of if it slowly ramps up over time and it's eventually just running full throttle after, you know, maybe 10 minutes of being on, it's probably more likely that the thermal compound needs to be reapplied on those processors, or a thermal calibration needs to be ran on it. But anyway, that's probably a lot of useless information for most of y'all. But you know, if you got one of these things and you have that problem, then now you know what at least to look for. So let's see if the one more test I'm going to do. Let's see if the super drive actually ejects. Doesn't look like it did, and it is plugged in. It's kind of curious that on these they've got SATA hard drives, but they used an IDE for the super drive. Although I do remember back then, I don't think SATA CD-ROMs were around yet. If they were damn expensive. But anyway, I didn't hear any activity from that super drive. And I'm hitting the eject button and nothing's happening, so that drive could be bad. I don't hear any clicking at all. Maybe the power connector needs to be reseated. But the fans are spinning though, so that's at least something good. I'm going to double check the amount of RAM in this thing. Just make sure that it actually is 512 meg sticks, because it is, like I said, awfully dusty in here. Let me see if I can get a shot of the dust levels for everyone here. because I know some of you like to see nasty, grody computers. This isn't as bad as I've seen some of them, but it definitely could be a lot better there. Look at all that filth right down in there. Let me get the light on that for you guys. A little bit better there, maybe. See all that nasty crud built up right there? And of course that is on the fans and the memory. You can see more of that wonderful sludge right there. It doesn't have a smoky smell though to this thing. It smells more musty, like a damp basement smell. So I don't know. It does, like I said, usually this stuff I would say is nicotine, but that also would give off a very strong nicotine smell, and it's not doing that. So it's probably just dirt and dust and moisture, which that's why this dust can become conductive. You get that much built up, you get humidity in that stuff. It's like a sponge, you know. It just kind of soaks up all that water, and then you get it into certain places on that motherboard or video card, and shit starts going bad real quick. Before I let you guys go, I'm sure you're probably wondering what video card is in this system. I'm going to check that right now, and it is GeForce 6600. So it's the factory original card, and there's the information on it right there. 256 meg memory. I was doing a little bit of an experiment, and I might do it on this one as well, but I was doing an experiment on this machine. I actually have my EVGA 9600 card in that thing, PC card, and it works just fine in there. I didn't flash anything. The only thing it doesn't show is it doesn't display the Apple logo on boot. But once it actually gets loaded, and with an SSD, that thing boots up extremely fast. A couple seconds, actually. It works just fine. So apparently, you don't really need to flash those things to Apple unless you want to see the Apple logo. But yep, that's what we've got. The Quad G5 2.5 that isn't. It's a 2.3 dual core, which are still good, but I would have rather had the Quad G5. You never know. We might see a Quad G5 in here sometime. It's really the ultimate G5, the one that I want, because I had one. It was actually, I had this, I think it was a 2.3 dual core machine, just like this, sitting at work, and it was sitting here for about 1.5 years, and this was still when I was an Apple tech, or Apple certified. And I took that case, and I pulled all the guts out of it, put a 1 kilowatt power supply in it, I put the Quad G5 logic board and the processor module in it, and I put it was either a 750 or a 1 terabyte hard drive. And remember, this is 2008 that I did this, so this stuff was still expensive. And I also put it was a top-of-the-line NVIDIA 7800 GS, I think it was, from Apple. It was a top line, except for the Quadro, which was like twice as much. That was like a $1,300 video card, but because I was an Apple tech, I got it for significantly less than that. And when I sold that machine about 1 year later, I made quite a pretty penny on it, let me tell you what. But I would like to have that machine back, or, well, one like it, because I think the Quad G5 is going to be the best one to collect of them all, and the best one to play with. But, yeah, at some point maybe I'll come across one that doesn't cost an arm and a leg. So thank you very much for watching, and see you again right here on the Wayback Tech channel. Peace out, everyone. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Here's how many watts the system is currently drawing at idle. It's more than a Pentium 4, but it's not as bad as I thought it would be.